I'm just going to start rambling here for a second, but I also have a grounding sheet that I have started to use,
We have one.
which, yeah, which I'm like, I wish I could measure the effects of this. I don't know for
You're
sure.
that's it. You're grounded.
I
Yes.
know. We started and my husband started having back pain right away from it. So we
From
stopped
using it.
from
Wait,
using it. We stopped the grounding sheet and it went away. Now we're back on it. And I think we're okay, but I don't can't say that I see major improvements from the grounding sheet.
interesting.
But some people do. So I can't discount their experience at all.
Very interesting. Okay. Well, I've been feeling really good lately, so hopefully that's helping. Hello, everyone. We're chatting about different things we've been implementing and doing in our health journeys, we'll call that. We'll call it that. Um, just kind of fun. Even my kids, watching them do some things. I've been doing club Pilates uh quite a few times a week. I would say on average 4 or 5 times, probably 5 times a week. And I kind of wonder, I mean, that is doing wonderful things, I think, for me too. And it's the first thing I've been able to do that I've stuck with, I think. I like to mix things up, and this has been something that I've just really been enjoying. So, anyway, lots of fun stuff out there to try. How are all of you doing? Let us know in the chat. Welcome to the Healthy Heart webinar. Today, we're
Oh,
going to be talking about inflammation. And so this is going to be good. I'm just going to throw this out there. This is random, but a lot of us have our Whoop bands. I have a really cheap Amazon cover on mine right now because my other Whoop band started to smell. I think I wore it in too many lakes.
oh, I have
Yes.
two. I switch them out.
Oh, really? Okay. I want to get another one, but this is an interesting thing. So every once in a while, I will get migraines. And so I take Excedrin when I get no, that's not the cause. That's not what you take when you get, I mean, if you need to get rid of it, that's what you take. But when I take Excedrin, my HRV goes through the roof. And you know why? Because
Okay.
HRV really is a measurement of inflammation in your body. And I didn't realize that. So I'm just thinking, I must have a lot of inflammation then. Would that be right, Dr. Saunders?
Uh, Not inflammation. It's a marker for the function of the sympathetic nervous system. And so when you have a migraine headache, that's a sympathetic disruptor, or that's a disruption in the sympathetic nervous system. So it's going to change your HRV, and then you're adding caffeine into that, which blocks something called adenosine, which is going to change your sympathetic nervous system. So these are just changes in the sympathetic nervous system.
So why would it go up? Why would it get higher?
Because you're having more variability, because your sympathetic nervous system isn't keeping you stable anymore.
But higher is better, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, higher is better if it's based on resilience. So the idea, in fact, the Whoop band is the one that measures at night while you're in deep sleep only,
And that's when I took
because
the Excedrin too, was that night.
because all during the day you have all these other factors that enter into it, and it just makes it so complex as to whether that's a real thing or not.
Yeah.
When your autonomic nervous system is getting caffeine and sunshine and exercise and cold and hot, and all these changes that are happening in your autonomic nervous system is having to adjust constantly. And so is the heart rate variability based on all of these adjustments that are happening, standing up, sitting down, standing up, sitting down, or or is it due to your sympathetic nervous system function? And so that's why the Whoop band just uses the deep sleep time, because then you're stable,
Mm,
and you should see the variability in that. Does that
interesting.
make sense?
I did notice also that when I go on vacation, it does seem to go up quite a bit, which is
Yes,
also very fun.
I've noticed that too. Triple.
Yeah, isn't it amazing? Oh, I guess we need rest and to do things
Mhm.
that bring us joy. Who to thunk it,
Yeah.
I guess. All
And
right,
the
you guys.
outside.
Yes. Okay, so we have David here, Terry is back, Ricardo, Dwayne is here. And Dwayne posted something called Taoist.org, another movement option. Tai Chi. Okay, cool. Who else do we have? Hilda. Hilda says, where do I listen to the recorded webcast? And actually, you know what? If you go to bartonwebinar.com, there will be a link to our YouTube channel. And you'll be able to catch all of the replays there. John is here from South Carolina. James, North Carolina. Miriam from Canada. We have Rochester, New York. Norman, hello. Awesome. Welcome, everyone. We're excited to have you here. Just a reminder, Dr. Saunders is a wonderful doctor, but he is not your doctor. And so we do ask that you discuss anything that you may want to implement with your primary care provider. Okay. Oh, Christine's here from Florida as well. All right, let's get started. Let's talk about inflammation. My goodness, if this isn't a ginormous topic, where do we even start with inflammation? And it's trendy. I hear people talking about inflammation a lot. What can you tell us, Dr. Saunders, and how might it relate to our heart?
Okay, so inflammation is very important for the heart. It's an important part of what happens to cause illness in your blood vessels. And so when we talk about heart disease, most of the time we're talking about the blood vessels of the heart getting clogged, right? So you're not getting enough blood flow to the muscle of the heart. And it prevents you from making energy, it prevents you from getting oxygen and all the supplies that your heart muscle needs to continue to function. Because all your other muscles, you fatigue out, you run a 10K and you're like, oh, so tired, I got to go lay down. And you go lay down and you stop using those muscles. You're not contracting the muscles anymore. They're completely relaxed. And as they're completely relaxed, they can rebuild up their ATP from the mitochondria and clean out all the toxins and everything. Does your heart have that option? Okay. Your heart says, I'm getting tired. I think I'll stop now. And flatline, right? That's death. So it's really important that the heart keep going. And when there's inflammation, everything changes. You may not be getting enough energy. You may not getting enough blood flow. There can be constriction of blood vessels. Inflammation does a lot of things to the body. And so it's really important to decrease inflammation. Now, you need inflammation. So you need to be able to create inflammation. So for example, if you were to get a virus and you couldn't make any inflammation, then your immune system would go, oh, there's a virus over there. Okay, no problem. And it would just not do anything. No, the inflammation is, hey, get busy, guys. There's something bad here. You got to take care of this right now. And so you have to make inflammation. But when you don't have any threats, you don't want to have inflammation. It's not a good thing to have long term. So, so then what we're talking about today is not about the inflammation that you need to make when you have an infection or something like that. We're talking about inflammation that just happens and is chronically there for no good reason, and there's no threat, and your life is not in danger, but you still have this inflammatory process going on. So why does that happen? It happens for a lot of different reasons. Let's give a few examples. So one of the things we talk about a lot in the Healthy Heart Kit is your omega oils. Well, why is that important? Well, because if you have a lot of omega-6, you're going to create inflammation very easily because your cells are made out of this omega-6, and omega-6 oils are processed into leukotrienes and prostaglandins that cause inflammation. And then you have, on the other side, you have omega-3 fatty acids. And the omega-3 fatty acids are processed into leukotrienes and prostaglandins that suppress inflammation. So you have this kind of constant balance. And if you're eating a lot of nut oils, seed oils, vegetable oils, then you're getting a lot of omega-6 and very little omega-3. So if you're getting very little omega-3, then your inflammatory processes are out of balance. And so you're going to get inflammation very easily. So your omega-6 oils are going to start to be processed into inflammatory markers, and there's a lot of them, and there's not enough of the omega-3 to suppress that inflammation. So you have this kind of chronic inflammation that sets up, and it's just always there. And that can start out with something like as simple as gum disease. People with chronic gum disease. There was in my dentist's office, there was a little poster that said 95% of Americans have gum disease, some kind of inflammation in their gums. I'm like, what? Like, it's that common? Like, everybody has that? Yes, it's very common. What causes that? Well, there is one thing that is very concerning, and that is, as Americans eat more carbohydrates, sugar is now found in just about everything. And the consumption of sugar went from, if you look at 1900, when the average American ate 20 pounds of sugar a year. Can you imagine 20 pounds of sugar a year? And now the average American eats his weight in sugar every year. So if you weigh 200 pounds, you're eating 200 pounds of sugar a year. That averages out over the whole population. I'm not saying you specifically, I'm saying on the average. So someone who weighs 100 pounds is eating 100 pounds of sugar a year. What does that do? Well, that makes you insulin resistant, and it forces you to burn sugar for energy. And glucose, sugar, it causes inflammation because it causes more oxygen-free radicals. So another source of inflammation from the very basic is just what you're eating. If you're eating things that contain omega-6 oils and you're eating things that contain sugar, then you are likely to create inflammation in your body for no reason. The inflammation's there not to save your life, not to get rid of a bacteria, not to kill an infection. It's just inflamed and chronically inflamed and just always there. So those are sources of inflammation. Other ones are unexpected, like exercise. You don't realize it, but when you're exercising, you're creating inflammation. And so the problem is, I'm not going to tell you not to exercise. You should exercise, but you need periods of rest. You need times when you can regenerate. And what the Whoop Band says is recover. So you have you put in a lot of energy into your exercise, and then you have time of recovery to get rid of that inflammation, to process everything properly. So that other sources of inflammation are chronic infections. If you have Lyme disease or Epstein-Barr virus or molds, toxins can cause inflammation of various kinds. Mold toxins are one. That's what I thought of. But heavy metal poisonings or other toxins. Being toxic on sugar, by the way, just causes inflammation by itself. So, and if you think of what's the number one toxicity in the world? What do more people die of toxic wise than any other toxin? It's sugar, just plain old regular white sugar. And that's the biggest toxic cause of death in the world by far. If you look at diabetes, what is that? Just toxicity on sugar. And it causes inflammation all by itself. So how do you then get rid of inflammation? What do? You detox. That's a really good way of doing it. You cleanse, you detox, you get adequate nutrition, and you exercise and then rest periodically. And the best way to detox is fasting. Fasting by far, having an empty stomach, gets rid of inflammation better than anything else. In fact, as I was doing research on this, looking up how fasting affects inflammation, all by itself, if you did nothing else, fasting shuts down inflammation. It actually turns off those leukotrienes and prostaglandins that cause inflammation, even if you don't have enough omega-3. So you don't have to have omega-3 to shut it off, although you do want that balance so that you don't continually create more inflammation. But you can shut it all down just by fasting. And the reason that's so important for heart disease is because if you have this inflammation, you don't repair your blood vessels well. And so then you end up with vascular disease, which is, part of the heart problem. So, detoxing, cleansing by fasting, getting enough omega-3 oils, avoiding sugar and sweets of all kinds and artificial sweeteners, and avoiding toxins of all kinds, and getting rid of any chronic infections and issues that you have. That's the way to deal with this.
This is good information. Feel free, you guys, to post your questions in the Q&A. That is just the easiest place for us to manage those. We're getting a couple questions about the Whoop bands. So I posted a link in there for you guys to check out some more information about that. Okay, and Dr. Saunders, Shirley Chandler Dockstetter is here from Solvang from the 70s and 80s. And she says, looking good, Dr. Saunders. God bless you.
Hi, Shirley.
How fun.
Yeah.
All right. Question here. Rosario says, I went to my heart doctor and had tests done. The outcome was my heart only works 45%. He started me on carvedilol pills and rosuvastatin. What is Dr. Saunders' opinion about this? What else can be done to increase the heart rate? I am a smoker and overweight.
Okay. So the idea of smoking creating heart disease is it's only a small part of the picture, because smoking does have something to do with inflammation, and it can affect the blood vessels, the ability for the blood vessels to repair. And so you can end up with atherosclerosis from smoking. Being overweight is actually worse if you look at the overall statistics of having heart disease. So then the question of using those medications, my question is, do they address the problem? Does carvedilol address the problem that you have? And in other words, is your heart beating too fast? Because carvedilol slows your heart rate. And then the rosuvastatin, does that address a problem that you have? And is your cholesterol over 260? If it's over 260, then the carvedilol might address the problem. But if your cholesterol is 210, then rosuvastatin doesn't address the problem. So my opinion on the medications is really a question, is the question of, do they address your actual problem that is related to your heart disease? So let's look at what you're talking about. So my assumption is that your ejection fraction was 45%. That's what you're talking about. It works 45%. So what does that mean? That means every time your heart beats, 45% of the blood is being pushed out. That's less than half. And that's definitely a dysfunctional heart. But what that means, though, is, or the next question we have is, why? Why is your heart only pumping out 45% when it should be pumping out 60 or 75%, most of the blood? So you have to beat more times to get the same amount of blood around, because it's only putting out 45%. And so what that tells me is the muscle is not working. So there's a problem with muscle function. And if you give something like carvedilol to somebody like that, what ends up happening is carvedilol is like putting you on the couch. It's like, oh, my heart doesn't have to work as hard. And that's a good thing. Well, yeah, that's a good thing for a day or two. But what happens a month from now when your heart is now more dysfunctional because you've been on the couch for a month? And then what about 6 months from now? What about a year from now? As you relax your heart more, then you're not improving the function of the heart. So what carvedilol does is it slows down the heart, and the heart doesn't have to work as hard. It dilates blood vessels as well. So that doesn't sound like an answer that would be right for you. So it seems like that what you should do is find out why. If you've had a heart attack and that's why it's working 45%, then you need to fix the blood vessels and repair that. And that's in the book. If it's congestive heart failure, and that's the reason why your heart's working 45%, then that needs to be fixed. And that might be the supplements, for example, coenzyme Q10, L-carnitine, D-ribose, magnesium, getting extra of those. And then instead of using something like carvedilol, you would exercise the heart. You would actually make it work harder so that you can rebuild the mitochondria and start the heart functioning again. And the way you would do that is by going to, well, ideally, you can do physical therapy. They have cardiac PT is actually very good at starting you off slowly and building up gradually. But you can go to get a trainer and say, look, I have this amount of heart function and I'm still smoking, and they're going to tell you stop smoking. Well, that might be helpful, but that might not be your issue. The idea is to find out what your issue is and deal with that.
All right. Somebody's asking what's on Cheryl's hat. So let's address that right away. Hold on. Let me change my view here so that everyone can see. Cheryl.
Can you read it? It says,
Yep.
help people more. So at Barton, we have some core values. One of the first one is honor God, and one of them is to help people more. So this last summer, our team got together in Minnesota, and we had merchandise for the team, shirts and sweatshirts and hats to help people more. In some businesses, they just want to help more people. That's all they care about. More money in the door, more money in our pockets, whatever. But we want to help people more. So we're constantly thinking of how we can help our customers more. How do we help you get over your heart issues? How do we help people with blood sugar issues get better? Help you more than just the basics. We want to do more. And one of our other core values is to over deliver. So this is part of that. It's helping people more. Sorry, I'm not sure if we can offer it to you. It's kind of just a Barton team event merchandise, but we love it. We love what it represents.
I better write that down. Maybe we need to start selling them. I might need to write that down.
Yeah, Claire wrote in, how much are the hats? And yeah. I don't even know if you can buy them.
No, so far we just have them for the Barton team. But when I wear the shirt, it also says help people more. I also get a lot of compliments on the shirt. It's nice. People want help when we want to help you.
Yeah. And people like to help other people too. It's kind of nice to just have that reminder too. So we'll see. You never know. We'll see if we can get a merch store. Never know what they'll say, but we'll see.
And that's what we do here is we want to help you more. Dr. Saunders is helping you all here. So
yes,
I hope so.
Feel that from us.
All right. Let's move to some more questions here. Okay. Dwayne says, I'm a single 65. Dwayne is a single 65-hour to 72-hour fast per month. Okay, now I'm understanding. This is what happens when I try to read out loud. I have to think and read, and it's very hard. So Dwayne says, is a single 65-hour to 72-hour fast per month going to cause lean muscle loss?
That's been looked at, and there is a researcher who's done this extensively at USC in Southern California. His name is Dr. Walter Longo. He wrote a book called The Longevity Diet, and I've been to several of his lectures, and he's looked at this and says, do you actually burn muscle mass? And the fact is, yes, you use protein while you're fasting. However, when you build back, you build when you start eating again, you start building back and you build your protein more than your fat. So you build up your muscles better than you build your fat. Why? Is because you get that anabolic. Remember the 610 reset that we talked about in the past, and you get the anabolic metabolism to rebuild and repair your body, and that works better after 72 hours. So you start off with the first 48 hours is autophagy, and then the next day is you start in the anabolic metabolism. So you're actually taking proteins out of your body, and then you put them back in very well. So the answer in the long run is no. You actually get more muscle mass when you fast 72 hours once a month.
I saw a question come in. What type of fasting are we talking about? Water or absolutely nothing? What do you think?
Okay, the word fast means empty stomach. So if you put something in your stomach, it's not empty anymore. So then you're not fasting. So every time you drink water, you're not fasting. But the water's going to be drained out of your stomach in 20 minutes. So it's not like a big deal. However, the research shows that a dry fast, eating and drinking nothing at all for 72 hours, is significantly better than doing a water fast. Just saying.
And from experience too.
From experience.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Claire says, I've been fasting 24 hours, just water for hydration. Is this bad?
No, not at all. Not at all. It's really, really good for you. Water fast is really, really good for you. Don't misunderstand. You get so much benefit from that. I can't even tell you how good that is. 48 hours and just drinking water, that's great. The water empties out of your stomach pretty quickly. It's like, 15, 20 minutes, and then your stomach's empty again, and then you get all the benefits again. So it's fine. It's not a problem. I'm just saying that you get, what was it? Someone told me, and I don't have any research on this, but somebody told me that who had done the research, that a 3-day dry fast is the equivalent of a 7-day water fast kind of thing. And that's kind of, Walter Longo came up with that too. If you ever heard of the Prolon kits, they're fasting mimicking kits that you buy. And it's this big box. It has all these little boxes in it for 5 days. And you get this little drink, a glycerin drink, and then you get a little date nut bar, and you get some minestrone soup. And, each day, this is your first day's food, your second day food, third day, fourth day. You start out with like 1,200 calories, and it goes down to like 300 calories on your last day. And it's supposed to mimic fasting. And so he could show with 5 days fasting mimicking is equivalent to about 3 days of actual fasting, like with water. But dry fasting is even better. You get so much more benefit from it from the short period of time. So I don't like to fast. All right, let's get this straight. I do not enjoy fasting. I love food. Have you ever seen Ratatouille? I'm the food critic, and I, and I would, everything he said, I love food. And then how could you be so skinny and love food? Because if it isn't good food, I don't swallow. So it's not. I don't even touch it. If I see like Pringles potato chips or something, I go, "Oh, that's not food." It's just like, "Ew, I wouldn't touch that. I'm not even interested." So anyway, so the point is, I like to eat, so I don't want to fast for 7 days. I want all the benefits of fasting for 7 days done in 3 days. So I do dry fasting 3 days once a month. Okay, so now you know my story.
That's good. Tony is on. Tony said, thanks for the supplement recommendations. Mary and I are seeing great results. Coenzyme Q10 is great. That's awesome, Tony. And you know what, Dr. Saunders? Tony recorded a video, sent it of himself sharing kind of his testimonial. It is phenomenal. I just realized I sent it to the team last week, but I did not send it to you, Dr. Saunders. So I have to do that. It is so good. You're going to love it. So I will do that after this. I'm going to write it
Okay.
down. I'm going to forget. Okay. Let's see. Oh, Shirley said that I'm in Spokane now, been here almost 4 years, going back to California as the Lord leads. I used to have low blood sugar and now it's been high at times. What is good to take to lower it besides beet powder and hawthorn?
To lower
Oh,
blood
no, blood
sugar?
pressure,
Blood
pressure.
pressure. Okay,
Sometimes I
blood
read the
pressure.
wrong
Okay.
things. Yes, blood pressure.
Okay. So so we've had whole webinars on this where we've discussed blood pressure. Don't focus on blood pressure. Lowering blood pressure is not a goal. That's a secondary goal. Your primary goal is to find out why your blood pressure is elevated. If your blood pressure is high because your brain's not getting enough oxygen, you better work on your brain getting oxygen. If you just lower the blood pressure, your brain's going to get less oxygen. That's going to make you worse. And that's actually what has been shown to happen. They've done studies on this in ERs all over the country where people with having strokes have high blood pressure, they drop their blood pressure and they die because all the oxygen runs out of their brain, and so their brain can't survive. So why is your blood pressure elevated? Is it because of your brain or your heart or your kidneys? Or do you have a genetic abnormality that prevents you from making nitric oxide, in which case the beet powder might be useful? So, you getting the right thing of why your blood pressure is high is really what you want to do. So you want to know why. And don't just say, oh, my blood pressure is high, I should just pop all these pills and take L-arginine and high doses and all this stuff. No, that's not the way it's done. Find out why first.
Okay. Edward said, could a low heart rate be caused by too much information, maybe inflammation in your system?
Inflammation in the system. Low heart rate. Low heart rate can be caused by problems with the node in the heart that starts the impulse for the heart. So you could have like a bundle branch block and other problems with the electrical activity of the heart would be one reason. Another reason would be if you're taking a beta blocker, those slow down the heart. Another reason for having a slow heart rate is if you exercise a lot. If you're running marathons and your heart rate's in the 40s, hey, great. It usually means you have a bigger heart and more efficient heart. So, you have a larger heart with 75% ejection fraction, and you can just go with, 40 beats a minute and you're fine because you're getting a good circulation from that many beats. So finding out why you have slow heart rate would be the most important. But look at it this way. Your heart rate is not really a problem unless you're having some kind of issue. Like you say, oh yeah, every time I stand up, I get dizzy and I'm going to fall down. I'm going to pass out kind of thing. And I check my heart rate and it's in the 40s, then, that means you're not getting enough circulation and your autonomic nervous system is not responding properly. So yeah, find out why. If you're getting symptomatic from like low blood pressure from a low heart rate, then definitely do something about that.
Marion says, what do you recommend to help with memory loss?
We're back in the same kind of issue. Why do you have memory loss? There's a lot of different reasons, but let's take the most common reason in the United States for memory loss, and that is a metabolic brain disease. And this metabolic brain disease is, some people call it Alzheimer's. It's not really Alzheimer's. It can be dementia, and getting the memory back would require changing the metabolism. So if you have insulin resistance, then glucose can't cross the blood-brain barrier. Well, nobody can cross the blood-brain barrier. But if you have insulin resistance, then you don't have enough proteins the glucose transport proteins that actively bring the sugar from the blood into the brain. And so you're not getting enough glucose in the brain, and then the brain shuts down and just stops working, especially in the memory area, because you're not getting enough energy to it. So to improve your energy is a really good idea. And there's a lot of books about that now. I've read 2 books recently. One is called Good Energy by, I don't remember the author's name. She is Good Energy. Anyway, darn. And then the other one is Brain
Good
Energy
by Casey Means.
Yeah, Casey Means, that's her. Yeah, and she's really good. It's I don't agree with everything in it, but she's got it's a good overview, a good program of how to have good energy, and especially for your brain, and then your memory comes back because, oh, I have good energy, and that works. And then the other one is I think it's called Brain Energy, something like that. But anyway, there's a lot of good books about how we have completely neglected the brain in terms of our metabolism and everything. All these people getting Alzheimer's, and we go, oh, well, Alzheimer's, it just happens. People get it, and there's nothing you can do about it. You just put them in a nursing home. And that's the kind of thing that families are told by their doctor, just like, yeah, we have a memory care facility. And that's not, the other one is Brain Energy by Christopher M. Palmer. And that's a good one too, about how to get energy. He's a psychiatrist, so he's going to be talking about the brain. Casey Means is a generalist. She's actually a surgeon, and she's brilliant. But anyway, that's beside the point. The neglect of the brain is now getting fixed. All these people are going, hey, wait a minute. You don't have to get Alzheimer's. It's not random. It doesn't just happen to everyone. And, oh, well, you're old. Your memory's no good. Don't accept that for a second.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. I'm excited to check those books out.
Yeah.
Fun. David says, are atrial ectopic beats dangerous? What is done to treat it?
No, atrial ectopic beats are definitely not dangerous. But see, here's the key. So in medical school, what we learn is to use surgery, drugs, essentially that, drugs and surgery. I'm on my license, it says Scott Saunders, MD, physician and surgeon. And so drugs and surgery, drugs and surgery, drugs and surgery. So if you don't have a drug or a surgery, then there's nothing to do, because I don't have anything to do about that. And so what happens is people go in the ophthalmologist with a cataract, and they're told that, oh, you have a cataract. It's an early beginning cataract. Let's wait until it's about, 50, 70%. When you're having trouble seeing out of your eyeballs, then come back to me and we'll do surgery. And they get really excited about that. Okay, we're going to do surgery, but we have to wait till it gets worse, and then we'll do surgery. If you go to a cardiologist, right? We're all here for the heart, right? You go to a cardiologist and they do catheterization, and they inject dye into your veins, and they say, well, you're about 40% blocked. Let's wait until you're about 70 or 80% blocked. Then we'll do surgery. And then, all of that, everything is that way. So when somebody has an arrhythmia of the heart, what does that mean? Well, nobody dies of an atrial ectopic beats. Nobody dies of it. So there's no drugs and no surgery. So there's nothing to do for that, right? But it's an indicator that you have an energy problem in your heart. Back to energy, right? an energy problem in the heart is first starts out with these arrhythmias or slow beats or the atrial or even ventricular ectopic beats. And these kind of things just show up. And what it means is those cells are having fewer mitochondria, so they're not they have to contract and relax. They're not relaxing fast enough. The diastolic dysfunction is the way that starts. Is diastole is when the heart relaxes. So it's beating, but some of the cells are taking longer to relax. And so then they come back later, and that's an ectopic beat. So that's an indicator. So if you have atrial ectopic beats, then what you need to do is increase the energy of your heart. And that's a lot of what we talk about in the Healthy Heart Solution Kit. How do you increase the energy of your heart? So we have some supplements that are there, and we have some exercises and stress reduction and certain foods to eat. It's a program. It's not just, take this one supplement kind of thing. It's like, do the whole thing and increase the energy of your heart.
Right. Norman says, is the best fasting only 72 hours? Never fasted beyond 12 plus hours.
Yeah, 12 hours doesn't get you to autophagy. Autophagy is when you start cleansing the body. You're cleaning up all the dead proteins, dead cells, senescent cells, all the junk proteins like amyloid plaques, all of that stuff. It really takes about 48 hours to get to there. And then, 12 hours is not enough to get to that, to do a cleanse, for example, or a detox. You need about, between 24 and 40 hours. There's no magical time because everybody's a little different on how that works. You use up all your glycogen first, and that takes about 24 hours. And then you have to start switching to fat burning, and that takes a little time. So it takes about 3 days. When they did a study on rats, for example, they took diabetic rats and they made their blood sugar low. So their blood sugar was in the 40s. And I don't know if you know blood sugar, but in the 40s, that's low. That's hypoglycemia. That's like, you're going to get a headache. You're going to be fatigued. I got to eat something. I feel terrible. Blood sugar of 40 is really low. And so the rats are laying around doing nothing, except on the fourth day, after 3 days, they get up and they start running around and they're doing all their normal rat stuff, and they check the blood sugar. It's still 40. And they're like, what the heck? So they did a biopsy of their blood-brain barrier, and they found 10 times the number of glucose transport proteins that get sugar into the brain. So the body responded to the low blood sugar by making these extra glucose transport proteins by 10 times. It wasn't just double the amount. It was a lot. So that response, though, took 3 days. That's how long it took. And that seems to be sort of the amount of time it takes to switch from like sugar burning to fat burning to get that autophagy started. Everything kind of works within that 3-day period of time. So it's not that you don't get any benefit from 12 hours. You definitely do. But the greatest benefit you can do is apparently 3-day, 72-hour dry fast. But you know what? I got to say something about that to be reasonable. So for example, last weekend I did my 72-hour fast, and I got really thirsty because I run. I still do my 5K run. I got really thirsty. I drank water. So, if you're getting thirsty, like when I stood up, I was getting dizzy. I drank water. So drink water if you're like really thirsty or getting dizzy or anything like
that. Okay, so Claire has been fasting for 24 hours, just water, but also noticing that She's been losing muscle mass since fasting. I have plant-based protein. Should I take it at the end of each fasting? Since fasting, my friends say that I have aged.
Yeah. Um, okay. Yeah, the aging. When you lose the subcutaneous fat, it makes you look older. Yeah, that's an issue. So then the protein, you get enough protein and you rebuild the collagen in your skin, and then you start looking younger again. So yes, getting enough protein is a good idea. After you're done fasting, you need at least a minimum of 30 grams, not necessarily to break the fast immediately. I usually have a green drink when after fasting, and then and an hour or so later I'll have a high protein meal, because the protein is very important for building and rebuilding and repairing. And so if you're vegetarian, yeah, using a vegan protein, that's fine. Um, if not, whatever, however you get that protein is good after fasting, so that you can rebuild and repair all of the damage that you did while fasting.
Okay, Maria on YouTube is wondering if Claritin is a good thing to use for inflammation. There are times that I feel the skin and joints in my hands itch, and I believe it's caused from inflammation in my body.
Yes. So the Claritin is a really nice way of stopping that briefly, but it's not a long-term solution. What you need to know is why. If you're reacting to tomatoes, then you cut out tomatoes and then you never have itching anymore. It goes away completely. If you're reacting to some kind of food or something, then you stop the reaction. If you're reacting to pollens in the air, then you might have to deal with that differently. There are actually um, like sublingual treatments for allergies now that work really well. So finding out why is so much better than just a temporary treatment with a pill.
Isn't Claritin or other allergy meds dangerous long term for the brain?
Yeah, not Claritin,
Oh,
because
not
it doesn't
Claritin.
cross the blood-brain barrier.
Okay.
But the other ones like Benadryl and diphenhydramine, that's Benadryl, chlorpheniramine, I don't know, all those other, yeah, some of the antihistamines that make you drowsy. Yeah, yeah, Cheryl, you're right. They are. They do cause memory problems long term.
Shirley has said, what can you do when you have health issues that keep you from fasting? I really want to get back to fasting for multiple reasons.
Okay, so the way to handle that is to look at what the health issues are and why you have them. So for example, there are people who cannot fast because they get hypoglycemic, and they're just so hypoglycemic that they're non-functional. And so finding out why are you hypoglycemic? People who do that often have a lot of insulin, and that insulin resistance is the problem. So then dealing with the insulin resistance, bringing your insulin down so that you don't drop your blood sugar every time you don't eat, is a good way to manage that. So find out why you can't fast and then work on that so that you can.
Tony said, I fast after 7 p.m. and I eat between 7 to 8 or 9 a.m. I have lost 45 pounds in 6 months, only water after 7. This I do along with a low carb cookbook and Barton supplements. I feel amazing.
Good work. Good work. So part of our 6-10 reset is going to bed with an empty stomach really makes a difference. So if you have one meal a day, it needs to be breakfast. If you have 2 meals a day, it needs to be breakfast and lunch. Skipping dinner is like great. And so that not eating after 7 is such a great idea. Good work.
Hilda said the last time I tried to fast, my glucose reading went down to 30, started sweating, and became dizzy. What should I do so that I can fast again?
Okay, hypoglycemia, low blood sugar. So if you get hypoglycemia, it means you're making too much insulin. So the way to handle that is to gradually get less and less. So there's several ways to do that. One is to cut out carbohydrates. And so if you're not eating carbohydrates, so we have what's called the diabetes solution kit. And it is a very low carb diet. And it has all the explanations and everything you need in there to follow, excuse me, a 20-gram carbohydrate diet. And that is one way of handling that. Another way is to fast. Excuse me, I'm sorry. To fast, if you start off with fasting for 8 hours, and then you go to 10 hours, and then you go to 12 hours, and then you go to 14 hours, and every day you just increase your fast by a little bit longer, a little bit longer, a little bit longer. Or if you want to do it slowly, then you do every 3 days, you go a little bit longer on your fast. And I've had people do that successfully very often, just lengthen out the time of your fast gradually. And then next thing you know, a month later, you're doing a 72-hour fast, and it's like, wow, this is easy. It's not a problem.
Okay, question. Okay. How often is it healthy to do a 70-hour fast? 72-hour fast?
Wait, say that. I'm sorry, say it again. I missed that.
72-hour fast. How often is healthy?
Oh, once a month. It's not something you should do frequently. I don't know. I don't think you should do it frequently. I just read a book that was actually really good that was saying you shouldn't fast and giving the reasons why. But, I get it. And fasting is so good for you that that people often overdo it. And so, I think like everything else, there's feast and fast. And so, you know what? Eat and then, but take some time off sometimes to regenerate, to rest, to repair, to get your intestines working, to get the immune system functioning. That everything works better when you fast periodically. But I think you can overdo it, and I'm pretty sure you can. From what, not the research I've done, but some of the books that I've read have said it's horrible to fast. It's not horrible, but if you do too much, it can be.
Okay. Let me see here. Okay, Suzanne said, how long can you go dry fasting? I did it for 5 days.
Wow. Well, the question is, how long can you go dry fasting? I don't think I could do 5 days. Well, see, I go for runs, and I'm running a 5K. So I don't think I could do dry fast for 5 days. I would have to at least have water.
Yeah. Valerie said, can a diabetic do the 3-day dry fast safely?
Yes, but you would have to work up to it. Remember the high insulin. So diabetes, if you have type 2 diabetes, that's high insulin, you would have to work up to that, just adding in a few hours of fasting different on a every day or every couple of days or every 3 days. If you're type 1 diabetic, you absolutely can, but you have to be really careful. In fact, I would recommend getting a continuous glucose monitor so that you can see what your blood sugar is doing all the time. And that will give you an idea of where you are throughout your fast.
Okay. Jane said, will there be a discussion on stroke prevention at some point? I want to be the one in my family who doesn't get a stroke. And that's a great idea. Let's do that. Let's talk about that.
Didn't we do that? We did talk about it once. Yeah.
We have talked. Yeah. We'll do it again. We'll talk about that again. Matthew says, how do I unclog my veins? When I walk fast, numbness, pain is in left arm.
When you walk fast, numbness and pain in the left arm, that wouldn't be veins. That would be arteries, right? The arteries aren't supplying enough blood, and you get numbness and pain. So if it's only in your arm, then you probably have a celiac steel. No. Oh darn, it's on the tip of my tongue. So there's a blood vessel that goes through, and you only have one blood vessel, subclavian blood vessel that goes to your arm. And if that is limited in any way, and sometimes it's a muscle as the or a muscle and the rib. And so as the artery goes over the rib, if you're exercising a lot, then you can get it pinched, and that pinching will prevent the blood flow, and then it'll get numbness. What they do is they actually cut out the rib, and so to open it up and just let that artery just flow through there, so it's not going over and creating a decreased blood flow. So you'd have to go and find out, do a arteriogram and find out if that's the case. Because if it's only on one side, it's an anatomical problem. And so you need to see a vascular surgeon about that.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. We are 2 minutes over our time. Dr. Saunders, thank you so much for being here today. We'll see you next
You're
week.
welcome. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
And thanks all of you for joining. If you are not familiar with the Healthy Heart Solution Kit, you can find that at bartonwebinar.com. There's also a link to our YouTube channel and a lot of other information, supplements, etc. Use code webinar25 to save 25%. We will be back next week, same time, same place. Thank you, Cheryl, for being here.
Yeah. And I think there were a lot of questions today about blood sugar as well. So you guys have a heart healthy blood sugar webinar on Wednesday, same time. Yeah,
1 p.m. Central.
Yeah.
Yep.
So more information, Barton webinar about a blood sugar webinar as well.
Yes, definitely register for that. That's a great webinar too. Thank you. Okay, we'll see you guys soon.